Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast for leaders who never expected to end up in charge, but are determined to do it well. I'm Barbra Carlisle, executive coach to founders, CEOs, and purpose-led leaders who want clarity, confidence, and a team that thrives. Each episode, I dive into real conversations with leaders who've navigated pressures and big decisions so that you can lead with courage, honesty, and impact. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Unlikely Executive with me, Barbra Carlisle. This week, I'm really excited to be in the same room, metaphorically, as Sarah Thorne, who is a strategic leader in construction, and she's the owner of Thorne Solutions. Clues in the name, her name is Sarah Thorne, and she's also co-founder of MumPod, and we'll find out what MumPod does in a minute. Through Engage to Action, her trusteeship with Women Leaders UK, and her support for charities such as Arthur Ellis, she champions inclusion, resilience, and impactful people-centered leadership across the communities and organisations she works with. So hello, Sarah.
Hi. I'm so excited that you've invited me on your podcast because I love your podcast.
I don't let you down.
No, I love it. It's great.
So you shared with me what you do, and I've replayed that, but literally I've just replayed it. But what I would like to know, Sarah, is you've got a lot going on there. You've got MumPod, and people will be very curious to know what MumPod is. Engage to Action, again, something I've not come across before, and then contributing to other causes and activities where you're not the core originator of those ideas. And then you've got Thorne Solutions, which is your day-to-day job. Is that correct? Or do you want to explain how you navigate what you do?
So, I've spent like over 20 years now in construction. And so my sort of core, what I love doing is delivering projects. Although obviously it's changed now to a more strategic level role. A lot of the times it's client side, and I have a team that I've been bringing up and upskilling and allowing to develop within Thorne Solutions. I've had the ability to do that within the same profession. The work that we do varies, but as far as I'm concerned, project management is a process. So you will deliver whatever you're going to deliver, whether that's building something or delivering an event for a client. The process you go through is the same, is different, but that's the core kind of day to day, which is where I work as somebody delivering capital delivery projects for the Met Police. We deliver events for the likes of Women Leaders and other different types of events. A lot of charities we support because they need more cost-effective support, and they need project management because a lot of them are skilled in what they do, but actually they do need that project management approach, which is just a good way of working. It's a good way of engaging your stakeholders. It's a good way of getting the deliverables and the outcomes that you've planned to do. So that is like the core kind of element that I think empowers all the other things that I do.
So in a nutshell, we say project management, and it's bandied around, and it is a term many people will have a concept of. But what is it, project management? And you mentioned it's process. Is it just logging the process and then telling people what to do?
And this is, I think, one of the problems that project managers have, is that the value of what that actual skill base that's required, people don't see a value in it. A lot of people think, oh, I've got a thing to do, so I'll just do that. I can manage that myself, or my team can manage it in-house. But actually, there's a lot of skill around understanding how do you get from point A to point B and all of the bits in between that to get there. And a lot of it is around stakeholder relationships and managing everybody to a process. So there'll be governance processes, there'll be processes of ways of working, there'll be ways that people deliver projects, life cycle, if you're going to get technical. It's about making sure that the process doesn't take over and that everybody's not just, well, I followed the process, therefore it should have worked, because that doesn't happen either. Because
it'd be nice if it did, though, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it just? But people are quite a big factor into how things work or don't work. And that isn't just whether they're following the process. That's relationships, that's, nuances, it's drivers, it's own agendas, it's other things they've got in their workload. And so when organisations are trying to deliver something, often they will use their in-house team, who are really capable people and really skilled in what they do. and certain aspects of a project will be delivered really, really well. But if you want the oversight and you want the confidence, I guess, that it will be delivered very well, then the project management skill is a really big part of either buying that in or having people that do have that skill. And the other aspect to it is when you have to deliver a program or a portfolio of different things. So you might have something that's been built, something that's been refurbished, a new team moving into somewhere else. Those complexities, there is a massive skill in being able to manage all of those different deliverables that are required, different timelines, there's different funding pots and costs attached to it, and there's lots of stakeholders that might be involved in different elements of it. That requires good governance. It requires a level of detail that when you've got lots of plates spinning, that in itself is a skill to be able to understand which is the priorities. Is that servicing the deliverables? Is that servicing the outcomes that this project is required? And if it's not, should we be doing it? And that sort of questioning, problem solving, relationship management, all of that side of things comes into project management, which is not really, when you do a proposal, none of that stuff comes into it. And normally what happens is people say, well, we can deliver that, that's fine. And they get part way through it and something goes wrong. And then they're like, we need someone to come in and problem solve this for us. And a lot of times we might get brought in to do one piece of work or just solve a problem. And then you build a relationship and you show your value and they sort of go, oh, I didn't realise that you were going to give me that much value. Actually, could you continue or could you do this other piece? And it sort of ends up growing legs. Which is fine. That's how we work a lot of the time.
Yeah. So do you apply that sort of project management principles to your own portfolio of work? Because, you said that you need to have those project management skills for programs of work as well as a single project, but you've got a program of work with the things that you get involved in. Can you see where your project management skills have helped you in that journey?
Absolutely. And everything I do can seem like it's disparate, but actually it's all connected. And I've only recently realised the purpose behind all of the things that I do, because even I thought it was a little bit disparate. And it's the skills of the project management has allowed me to do so many things and has allowed me to manage multiple things at the same time and bring people along with me. I think if I didn't have such good project management skills, I wouldn't be able to do as much as what actually my whole team are very similar. And I think there's a lot of transferable skills. Project management is a really good thing to get into because it does bring in a lot of different other skills that you could get across industry in different sectors. And I've worked from high-end retail shops to mobile telephone points of sale across the world to data centres, to delivering MumPods, which we'll come on to massive infrastructure projects, decarbonisation projects and grant-funded projects, government grant-funded projects. And if you'd have told me at the beginning, before I started any of each of those sort of different sectors that I've been in, or you're going to be delivering data centres in a year's time, or you're going to be delivering net zero carbon projects in a year's time, I would have said, no way, I can't do that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not skilled. But actually the project management skills and the transferable skills from all of those different industries that I've picked up is mostly it's about being able to see the wood for the trees, cutting through noise and understanding what is actually the objectives, and then listening to people. So the stakeholder relationship management and building is super important. Mostly it's down to listening. Listen to what people are saying, listen to what their drivers are, because it might not be what's on paper, it might be something different, and they could make the project fly or make the project pause if you don't actually understand what that person's driver or that team's drivers are, or the impact of some of the things that you're doing. So listening, organisation, all of those sorts of what you feel like could be soft skills or that aren't necessarily the academic part or the technical part of a job is the thing that makes a good project manager. Yeah. And that can be applied to any industry or anything that you're delivering.
Yes, it's recognising the skills that you have lots of value, even if initially others don't see that and just see you as another cog in a process wheel. It'll just be cracking the whip.
Yeah.
But actually it can lead to all sorts of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I remember a while back, I said, I might become a project manager. And my mentor then went, oh, it's time. He said, oh, no, don't be a project manager. It'll just box you in. But actually, what you're saying is it doesn't box you in. It's if your personality is right and the skills that you want to develop are aligned with effective project management, then go and do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure my mentor had a good heart, it wasn't that they were.
Yeah. I know, and probably trying to protect you, but it reminds me of a point in my career when I was a senior project manager, and I was wanting to be promoted to an associate project manager, and I was delivering the retail, but mobile telephone shops basically, but there was a lot of nuances, and it was around the world. So it was actually Nokia, and it was all across the world. So we were the sort of hub, if you like, of the ways of working, of how they delivered and how they kept to the brand guidelines and the quality standards and everything that needed to be done. And when you're working with different countries, there are massive cultural differences in the way, the speed, the way you talk, what you agree, when you agree it, how it's agreed. All of those things can really cause a lot of problems. Anyway, at the time, I got nominated by someone, a wonderful woman that I used to work with, who had said, I think you should go to this major projects as a rising star and you get nominated by your organisation. And my boss at the time said to me, when I brought this idea of going to the Major Projects Association Rising Stars like cohort, which was like a few days with lots of other project type people that were all trying to rise themselves in their organisation, whichever stage they were at. He said to me, what do you know about infrastructure projects? And I was like, oh yeah, no, you're right. I haven't done any infrastructure projects, like big infrastructure, roads and airports and at that point data centers or whatever. And I was like, no, you're right, I haven't. And I actually had a conversation with the director of program and project management in the organisation, who had started to be my mentor. And I went to him and said, I've got this opportunity, but I don't know anything about infrastructure projects. And he was like, so an infrastructure project, let's just cut it down to what it is. It's just a really big, complicated, complex project with lots of stakeholders and lots of aspects to it, some of which you'll be technically competent to understand, some of which you won't, because you could be a civil engineer or you could be a mechanical engineer, and you know about your bit, but you can have a wider view on everything. He said, would you not suggest that delivering a program of 1 million points of sale across the world in various different countries around the world, from San Francisco to China, is complex program? I was like, yeah, it is. So do you not think you've probably got the skills to go and have that potential argument with other people in that environment, with other people that are doing large infrastructure projects? I said, yeah, I probably do. And when I went, I was super nervous because all of the people that I was going to had all sorts of letters after their names of mechanical engineers and electrical engineers and civil engineers and big company organizational names behind them. And when I got there, the biggest part of the first conversation when we all met each other was the question, what is smart casual? Because that was the dress code that we'd been given.
We don't have time to explore what smart casual is, but
It just
curious
really
to know what it
brought
was.
everyone down to the same level of human nature that actually, and I absolutely flourished, and I ended up being on the programme committee for the Major Projects Association, having a 7-year relationship with the Major Projects Association off the back of that. And it opened the most amount of doors, network of people, opportunities I would never have taken had I not just kind of ignored that negativity about where my skill base could take me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the person who has created that sort of negative self-belief may well have been doing it from a place of protection, which it's so often, especially with women, and you're like, I don't need protecting, but once they've said it, you can't.
The self-doubt creeps in, and then
so good on you for focusing on connecting with others who could give you an alternative view and taking that step. Sarah, we need to go back to something you said early on, because you said, and maybe I've missed it in your conversation, but
You said that you'd recently found your purpose. I'm sure people are going, well, I just want to know what she said. What is a purpose? So can you just tell us what was the light bulb for you?
So I think when you introduced me, you talked to quite a few things that I'm doing, and that could feel like it is not connected. And to be fair, the connection I always thought was just the people connection. So it was relationships I'd built and friends I'd made, and then got involved in the thing that they wanted to do because I was excited by it. And recently I had an epiphany. I went to a women's leadership day by a really fantastic woman that I'm on, who's one of my fellow trustees at Women Leaders. And a lady there she had spoken about, what's your purpose? Why do you do what you do? And she kept asking me the question, why? So why do you do that? Why are you doing that? Why do you do MumPod? Why do you do Engage to Action? Why do you do Thorne? And I had this epiphany in that moment where I was like, all of those things are connected. So obviously I've talked about the project management side of things, and that's my business. But the Engage to Action is raising the aspirations of young people via doing activities, construction related or project related activities in the classroom. So we align what we're doing, whatever the activity is, with the school's curriculum topic area for the year group that we go in. We go from as young as year 1 up to university age. And you just dial up or down the complexity of the project or the language that's being used. And what we do is, for example, we say, right, we're going to build Milton Keynes where I live. We're going to build Milton Keynes again. And so we're going to start from scratch. What do we need in a city? And the children come up with ideas of what they need. And then we give them a budget and we give them the roles they've got to be, and they assign themselves based on their strengths. So project manager, are you good at listening and conveying a message back to the rest of the team if you need to understand what you need to do, and keeping things on track, making sure you're doing all the activity you need to do by the time? Are you great at maths, adding up and subtracting, and you be the cost manager? Are you really creative? Can you draw well and build things out of model? Could you build a model? You should be the architect. And we say these are all the skills that you need to be those roles. So they assign themselves a roles. And then we give them a budget, and then we give them junk modelling. And you say, like, you've got, £1 for small junk, £5 for medium junk, £10 for big junk. And then you've got to design and build yourself a building for the new city, or a thing for the new city. And then they actually build it. They have to come to the bank and ask to buy it or to get more money. So they have to present themselves. They have to talk about who they are, what their roles are, what their strengths are. Everybody has a role to play in their team. And then we build the city out of the junk modelling. And we bring in business people during, say, it's a whole week or over a term. We bring in business people that do various jobs. So when we delivered one of these junk model ones, I actually brought in a junk model artist that had created, there's like an art in the park, it's called, which is a big festival in the summer. And this junk model artist had built these giant like elephants and stuff that were like bikes inside, but they're all made out of junk metal, sheeting and all sorts of stuff. Fantastic for this big parade. So I brought her in, and she says to the children, I do this as a job. And their literal minds, you could see them being blown, like, what? You can do this sticking and gluing as a job that you get paid for? And it just raises their aspirations in so many ways, because one, it highlights what their skills are. Two, it gives them, talks about employability skills that are so important alongside the academic skills.
Yeah.
It shows them their abstract learning in school is not abstract, because you need those skills in the job that you do. If you're going into marketing, you need to know how to draw. If you're going into anything related with finance, you need to do the maths. You need to understand science, all of these things. So that is inspiring them from as young as primary school, that they can do and be anything that they want, and trying to bring them into STEM.
Yeah.
I'm in STEM as a career in my trade.
Yeah.
And then I went back to work after maternity leave twice, and I couldn't continue to breastfeed because I just didn't have the facilities. So I was having to pump my milk at work, travelling to London from Milton Keynes, and having to pump my milk at work in the toilet, in a meeting room, in the wellbeing room that was lockable, but other people had keys so could get into it. I had to give up breastfeeding, and then my child at 11 months stopped drinking any kind of milk because he refused to take a bottle. So I felt like a failure. I felt like I couldn't do everything. It knocked my confidence. I was in a senior role and I was feeling extremely vulnerable. I didn't feel valued. I felt like it was a hidden thing, that was my problem that I had to deal with. And I met my co-founder at MumPod, Roz. She's an ex-midwife, and she is a lactation consultant. And she helped me to breastfeed my now nearly 16-year-old. That's how we met initially. And then she had this idea when she stopped being a midwife that we should have places for women, dedicated places for women to express their milk when they return to work. And obviously, with my lived experience of being that woman in a male-dominated environment where it's not spoken about, it's not necessarily thought about, because why would they necessarily, the senior leaders, if there are a lot of them are men, think about that need?
Yeah.
We're not speaking about that need, and it's all kind of under the covers, so to speak, then of course it's not known about. And the impact that it's having on the job market and attrition. So we have a stat that's like 70% of the women that want to go back to work full time end up leaving the role or the job that they're in, like the organisation they're in, because they don't feel valued when they return to work. And the conversation needs to be way before they go off on maternity leave, because if they're going off on maternity leave whilst they're pregnant, going, my organisation has somewhere for me to go, where not only does that tell me, thank goodness, if I do choose to breastfeed, I can continue when I return to work, so I don't have to worry about that, but also they do care about me. And that must mean I'm probably not going to lose my job. And they might even put me forward for promotion, even though I've been on maternity leave. Ooh, who knew that was a thing?
Yeah, it sends a subliminal positive message, doesn't it, as well as a practical.
Yeah.
Because the pods are like literally, we're talking about a physical pod, aren't we?
Play pod with, dimmable lighting, a comfy seat. It makes you feel it's got soundproofing, so no one can hear your pump outside and you can't hear everybody else so much. It's a little safe little comfort cuddle where you can just go in, it's lockable, no one can get in. So you're not like, oh my God, quickly, I've got a pump, or put my chair against the door to stop anyone coming in. And it just allows the chemical that you need for the milk to flow to be released, and you're calm and you can do it, and you can pump 20 minutes, done, dusted, little pump break. It's a legal requirement to provide the space, but the government policy says you have to provide a space for pregnant and returning mothers to rest or express, and it shouldn't be a toilet. So it must be lockable and it shouldn't be a toilet.
Okay.
So we're like, oh, is that adequate? Maybe there could be some more detail around what should be provided. So Roz and I are working on that, but the purpose, the connection of all of it is about, particularly in construction, we are not attracting young people into the industry in the numbers we should be, especially women and girls. Girls already believe they can't do it when they hit secondary school, probably, or they're got a blinkers on about the world of work for them and what that looks like. And so me going in with my very brightly coloured fake nails, fake blonde hair, kind of like very girly, and I go in and go, hey, I work on a construction site. Sometimes I wear a hard hat, and all the girls go, oh, you can do that. So that's really cool. And bringing in people that look like them, all diverse people that look like them, different age groups, different industries, it gives them something to aspire to. Then the project work that I do and women leaders, where I'm nurturing and supporting and bringing people up within the career field that I'm in, and then putting in a provision that allows the women that are in construction or other industries to come back to work, to feel valued, and to come back with work and feel that they can still progress their career, and it's not a pause just because they've had a baby or they're returning with young children, and that the company values them. So actually every single thing is completely aligned. It's just for the different stages of life.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And just one question on MumPod. You do have clients already in the MumPod arena, don't you? There are companies who are
We've
doing
got
this.
a lot of our pods are in NHS hospitals. Some people don't want to breastfeed in public. So having a private space that you could breastfeed in as well, in a public space or transport hub, or if you're traveling without your baby for work and you've got or anything really, you're traveling without your baby, you need to pump. having them at the airports, train stations, etc. would be fantastic. And if you Google MumPod, we're number one in the UK that come up, and there's only one other dedicated lactation pods provider in the world. So it's quite a substantial thing for the UK to be kind of leading on this through us and the work that we're doing.
It's amazing. And Sarah, like, it sounds like you're well sorted. You've got a brilliant portfolio. It sounds like it. Yeah, sounds like it. So what have been the major challenges for you in your career that you've had to overcome, and how did you manage that?
I wouldn't say everything's overcome.
Okay.
There are things that have been, and there are things that are ongoing. And one of the biggest thing, well, there's a couple of big things. I think imposter syndrome has been an absolute big factor in my life. And I would say I am very much, it's a much quieter voice than it ever has been, probably from years of experience and being nearly 50. You know, that comes with a bit of age and experience and a thicker skin, I guess, over years. And obviously I look at my accolades, I look at what I've achieved, and I can see that with more open eyes and more openness to accept that than I ever have done before in my life, probably in my career. I have got hidden disability, disabilities, but I've got autoimmune conditions that give me difficulties in terms of energy and pain management and all sorts of things like that. So, and lots of people do. Lots of people have hidden things going on, be that mental health or physical health or other things, caring responsibilities. So starting to be a bit more probably open with people with that, I think, to give people awareness. You always worry. I always worry. And I know other people I've spoken to always worry about sharing too much, because then you think, well, people might worry about, you know, they like to manage your pressure for you rather than asking the question, is this something you can do? I would say that a lot of the ways I've overcome things, imposter syndrome, this sort of thing, being managed on my behalf rather than being asked to as to whether I can or can't do something, is being honest and open. I think is, with the right people, I think really helps you to, I mean, integrity and honesty is always key for me. If you can't do something, I hate it when people tell me, if I'm in a client organisation and they're working for me, if there's surprises or they don't tell me, if they say, yeah, we win the work, so they win the work and then they can't do it, there's something goes wrong. If you'd have spoken to me, maybe we could have done something where we work more collaboratively. But that honesty of where you're at, how you're feeling that day, can you handle it? There is a bit of psychological safety that comes with that, where some people could weaponise that against you. But in those instances, hopefully your credibility that you've built up over time would mitigate any of that aspect of it. And the people that you want to work with you as well, but are happy that you're being honest about whether you can handle it, or if you need a bit of help, or if something's gone wrong or is about to go wrong and you can see it coming, that you actually just communicate and be honest about it, and then you can work through the problem. I'm a great believer in problem solving together, and I don't berate people for getting stuff wrong or things going wrong, but if you don't tell me about it and then I find out about it, that's a problem.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because if you do open up and be more vulnerable in your team or with a client, it can be weaponized against you. And even though you know I'm very credible, that's what they say, but I know my truth, it is still quite hard to go up for work with the energy that you used to have before they start to say, well, you said you were tired that day, or you said you needed extra support. And I think, thinking about like younger people in the career, they get chastised for being too open. Oh, these millennials will just say, this is it, I'm done, I've got no energy. They'll say they've got some condition that needs them to start work late, and then they're like, they're just, what do you call them, butterflies, they're just not really serious about having a career. So I think I accept that the more open we can be, the better. I think being open comes with a level of seniority and confidence.
And I think for younger people, well, I think for anybody, actually, this applies, but and I'm such an advocate for this as getting the right people around you, but particularly a good mentor or mentors. You don't have to have 5 official mentors, right? 1 official mentor, maybe, and ideally someone not in your industry, so they can give you a completely different perspective on things. But unofficial mentors, people who you can trust and you can say things to that will not flower things up for you, but can tell you something that you know is trusted. It's not going to be weaponized against you, but will give you some pretty frank advice. And sometimes that comes from the older ones of us that go, right, this is how to handle that, or like, really, you can't say that. Like, there's a point, there's a balance, right? Yes, you should absolutely, you need to manage this well, but you still need to do your deliverables, right? You can't just not do your deliverables. You can't just let the whole team down. So you've got to find, if you can't do it, you've got to find a way. So that might be, I can't do this, I'm going to need to get a couple of extra people in the team to help me to get this done, because it's got to get done, right? I can't just not do it, because that's letting down the organisation or the client or whatever, or it's going to have a knock-on effect. Not doing something could have catastrophic effects later on in the project, or bigger impacts that's like a ripple effect. So it's being able to speak to the right person that can give you the advice to say, right, you've got to think about this differently. I've had lots of fantastic unofficial and official mentors. And you even, I'm coming to you.
Me even?
No, what I mean is, it's not just that we're friends.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I class you as a friend, but I also, and a colleague previously, but I never asked you to be a mentor of mine, but I know I definitely came and had mentor-mentee conversations with you. And that's what I mean by that. You're not no official thing, and actually you're more a peer relationship with me, but peers and even junior people to you can mentor you. And I think that mindset change, your mentor doesn't have to be this official, contractual, more senior person in your organisation type person.
Yeah, I say to people, think about what you want to get out of a mentor, formal or informal. Why are you approaching somebody? What is it? Are you looking for validation? Are you looking for an alternative perspective? If you're just looking for validation, then don't really bother going to them. Just do it anyway. But if you're looking for, to explore or problem solve, or to get the courage, or to tackle imposter syndrome, go and speak to somebody who you think will challenge you. Don't just go to somebody who will just go, oh yes, you're really nice, you'll be fine, because that's not helpful, is it really? Sarah, I want to just ask you about your leadership style. What would people say if I said, what's Sarah like as a leader?
I would say that they would say that I lead by example. I don't mean technically. A lot of people get confused between management and leadership. And I think from a leadership style, it's about relationship building. It's about being collaborative. It's about listening. It's about bringing people with you, being open with them. So that means you can have a frank conversation. You don't have to bawl them out for something. You don't have to raise your voice at all, but you can say the words, I'm not happy, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
But what are we going to do about it? And that's what I think people would say about me, is that I'll be hard, I'll be fair, absolutely fair. I've got integrity. What you talk to me about in private stays with me, and I will always be part of the solution with you, even if that's just advice, or it might be actually getting involved in the detail of getting it resolved.
Yeah. And
when you do that, and I will say a caveat to my leadership style, because I had to do a bit of learning quite a few years ago now, because there were, and there probably still is now, but I'm a lot more aware of it. So I try to temper myself. I did some leadership training, and it was a really good one where you had to read a book. I can't remember what it was called, but you had to read a book, and then part way through the book, you do a questionnaire. And then the rest of the book tells you about what your answer to the questionnaire was, but you have to read the first half of the book or something first. And it came out, because I was going like, I don't understand why I will have probably 70% of my team, if I took them to the edge of the cliff and said, jump off that cliff, that we've got to do it, this is the right thing to do, they'd be like, yeah, absolutely, Sarah says we should do it, 100%, I'm on board. And there'd be a third, like, of the team that would be going, no. They'd be fairly obstinate and be like, what the hell? Why on earth would you even ask me to do that? And I was like, I don't understand how I can have such passionately, like, behind me people, and people who are really vehemently against what I'm saying and are not on board at all. And when I did this leadership thing where you read and it came out that I'm a visionary. And so the visionary leadership style means that I can talk about an idea and change my mind while I'm talking about it with the inputs that are coming into me from the team. And there are some people that when they see that, what they see is she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She's changing her mind she's flip-flopping. And that's not what I'm doing, and that's not where I'm coming from. And I'm taking all the inputs, and I'm quite data-driven as well. So I have the ability to do that, which is great, but I have to convey that in the right way to the people that need that confidence in me, that I have a plan, and that if I, at certain points in certain environments, it's okay to change that plan.
Yeah.
And so I might say, right, here's a strategic plan. This is how we're going to deliver that, or this is what we're going to do. And then I'm going to say, at this point, we're going to have a brainstorming session. And in that session, we can change our mind and we can say all the things. And then we can decide how we move forward and if we do want to change the plan after that. And that allows me my space to go, and just say all of the ideas at once at 100 miles an hour, but in a safe enough space that they know that's the space for that. And therefore, I do know what I'm talking about, and they can be on board with this plan. And if it does change, we'll do it in the right way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you'd asked, and if you still ask probably some people, they probably would say a different thing. But I'd say the majority of people would say it's collaborative, and I bring people on board with me, and I lead by example.
Yeah.
Behaviours and everything else, values.
I liked what you were saying about being hard and fair, because, and the word hard, oh, she thinks she's hard. But actually, you do need to be direct.
Bossy, I got told a lot.
Right, nice. But, you do need to be clear and give clarity. And sometimes that might land as being, she is bossy. But actually, it's where that trust, the initial trust, like you going back to what you said in the beginning around the part of an effective project manager is about stakeholder relationships and building trust and building the ability to have, no fear of conflict and saying your truth and accepting that not everybody's going to understand it or agree with it, but being ultimately fair in it. So Sarah, thank you ever so much. I've learned a little bit more about you, and I always love reading your LinkedIn posts. They're always really good luck with all the extracurricular stuff you did. And sorry we didn't get time to talk about the charity work that you're also involved in. If people wanted to stay in touch with you or learn more about you, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
The best way is just connect with me on LinkedIn. Absolutely. I'm always open to chat with people. I've got different ways of being able to connect people with mentors and coaches and people where they need that support, different amazing people in my network like yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm more than happy to have chats with people. So best bet is just message me on LinkedIn about what you want to connect with me about, and then obviously I can reply. So
Thank you.
I look forward to it.
And good luck with your expansion of MumPod.
Thank you. Yeah,
got a good vibe about that one for sure.
Yeah, we'll be posting some stuff coming up over the following few weeks from this interview, so it might already be out there in the ether by the time you publicise it. But yeah, lots of really exciting things happening. Thank you so much for having me on.
Not a problem. Take care, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you clarity about how you lead, then make sure you follow the show so that you never miss an episode. I'm Barbra Carlisle, helping leaders who never expected to be in charge show up with courage and fairness and conviction. Until next time, lead well, stay honest, and keep doing the work that matters.